What's up, everybody? It's Wayne again, coming at you again, and we're going to talk about a movie that just recently came out. You know, there's this trend lately of people being okay with mediocre movies just because of who's making them. Guess what? It's not okay. And Iron Man 3 breaks every single movie rule, but people are okay with it because it's a Shane Black movie and it's a Marvel Cinematic Universe movie. No, people. Shitty storytelling and horrible plot does not for a good movie make. I don't care who's making it. So that's why I'm going to tell you the truths about Iron Man 3. First things first, I'm going to go over the good, okay? Every movie has some redeeming qualities. I like to think at the heart of every crap-tastical movie, every, just piece of shit movie, there was a good idea at heart. And there's some good things about Iron Man 3. There really are. Number one, probably the biggest thing that Disney did right when it came to Iron Man in these movies was casting Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark. I mean, who better to play the character of Tony Stark than Robert Downey Jr.? If they were to go with some of the edgier storylines from the comics, then it would be even more perfect. It would be like life imitating fiction and fiction imitating life. And if you don't know what I mean, just look up Robert Downey Jr. and all his past indiscretions and his demons in the bottle. Number two good thing about this movie, we finally see in the movie universe the armory. It's been one of those money shots in the comic books and every cartoon that Iron Man's ever appeared in is the Hall of Armor. Just Tony's vast number of suits that he makes. Just because he can. And we finally got a glimpse of that in this movie. Now, number three on this list of good, Tony's natural progression after the Avengers was done perfectly. I wish it would have been delved into a little bit more. And spoilers ahead, Tony is, dealing with the fact that he went into space, the fact that there are aliens, the fact that there are gods walking among us, that there's all this fantastic and out of this world stuff in his world now. It's natural for him to have a few anxiety issues, and I think that was really a really great plot, progression. We'll probably never see Tony the raging alcoholic, which was in the comics, which is how he kind of dealt with his stress. He drank. I don't think we'll ever see that. We saw a little bit in the first and second one, but it wasn't excessive. But I think the panic attacks and anxiety attacks that he was having in this was a good progression and a good showing of that, he is vulnerable. He's not invincible. He's always handy with a one-liner, but underneath that one-liner exterior, that whatever, the stuff really affects him. And I thought that was great how they portrayed that. I really wish they would have done that more, but again, I guess that kind of comes into my bads on how horribly written this script was for this movie. Number four, okay, this was a great movie if they wouldn't have used source material. If they would have come up and done a completely original storyline for this, if the villains would have been completely original, if the only thing from the Marvel Universe they used was Iron Man, this would have been a great movie. Because then you wouldn't be like, wait a minute, that's retarded, that makes no sense. If it would have been all original, if things wouldn't have been taken from here and taken from there, we would have had a better cohesive movie. And I think that's where they kind of tripped over themselves this time. They want to bring in stuff from the comics for the comic fans, but guess what? This movie pissed off a lot of the comic fans and the comic loyalists because, you sold us these movies as it's the comics on the big screen and we get to see all this stuff as if it was real, but then you take what was great, these stories that made you the company that goes, I want to make this a movie, you take those stories and you go, but we'll change it up some. Guess what? The extremist storyline did not need to be touched. It would have perfectly translated to the screen from the comic books. There was no need to change anything. Number 5 on my good list is the Mandarin up to the twist. You know, people who've seen the movie know what the twist is. If you haven't seen the movie, you really shouldn't be watching this, because if you've seen my other reviews, you know I spoil. It's just what I do. But again, Mandarin up until the twist was the perfect version of the Mandarin to use. I'm sorry, I am not one of these people that say the Mandarin character is racist. Guess what? If you think the Mandarin character is racist, look up the meaning of the word Mandarin. It's it's Chinese bureaucrat. A high-ranking Chinese bureaucrat. You were talking about a character that in the comic books has set himself up as a Chinese emperor inside of communist China with enough power that the Chinese government doesn't do him anything. They let him operate because they can't do anything to stop him. So how is a character drawn to look like an ancient Chinese ruler named the Mandarin, which is high-ranking Chinese bureaucrat? How is that racist? I mean, to me, I think the Middle Eastern terrorist stereotype, I mean, if anything, people should be offended by that. I mean, that's the de facto bad guy now. It's like we used to be able to, you know, just make Nazis the perfect embodiment of evil to go after. But we can't even do that anymore because, as we saw in Captain America, there was only 3 Nazis that showed up in the whole movie and they got vaporized. So now it's okay to just, you know, throw the Middle Eastern terrorist stereotype around. But that's, you know, that's okay, but calling the Mandarin and having him actually be the complete polar opposite of Tony, you know, the Mandarin's tech-driven, you know, his rings were alien technology. And I'll get into that in the bads, but up until the point, the twist on the Mandarin was perfect. It was a complete and utter crowning of the first 2 movies, as in the 10 Rings was behind everything. The 10 Rings kidnapped Tony in the first one. It was a 10 Ring operative who gave Whiplash the tickets and that to go to Monaco to get Tony in the second one. The first 2 movies planted the seeds that the Mandarin was behind all of it. And you would think, great, because technically the Mandarin's a tech villain. He would go after Tony. But we don't get that. We don't get that at all. And I don't get why people aren't more upset about that.